GM. GM, 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 GM. So, trade of the day. I want to look at, I'll just do it all on deck screener actually. I want to look at multi-bit Unibot because I put a message in last night. I sold my multi-bit, so I'll tell you exactly why I sold my multi-bit. Many of you will already understand. So, I bought multi-bit again around this level when it was consolidating, pushing up, starting to move like it was going to have a nice recovery and breakout. It did that. It broke back out, got above the daily bands. The bands were green. There was rumors of Binance listing. We had a sell-off, but it was still above support. Then we had a big sell-off and just a total bleed, a lack of interest. Now, we're still above the 50 EMA. Okay, cool, great. But for me, I've made this mistake in the past. I do not want to try and predict the future. I don't want to try and tell the market where to go. So all I see is this. If we go back, Multibit had set this big dip down as a support level. Came down, swept it out, right? Okay, that failed. Swept out the lows below that. Okay, cool. Got back above all that. So it got above the white line and back above the yellow line, which would indicate that all of this selling and selling and selling, that was all sellers who panicked and got out and they were all underwater. Now within 3 days, they're all back. So to me, this is not a buyer's market. This is a market that is, when you zoom out, multi-bit can very easily end up all the way back down here. And so it can end up down there or even down at the lows and reaccumulate for a while and then go higher, maybe after the halving because it's a Bitcoin eco play. And yes, it might do this. It might rip and come up and away we go. And multi-bit's super bullish. If so, great. I'm happy. But that's not for me because the risk is that I'm not willing to hold this altcoin down another 70, 80%. That's just not, as a trader, that's not part of my plan. If it had have held at least this level, right? If it had held this level, I'd still be fine. This original level was the key one for me, 17, 18 cents, but it didn't, broke below it. So I just don't think that multi-bit is, from that perspective, bullish. And if you remember Pepe Coin, just sold 2/3 of my bag a couple of weeks back. It's the exact same thing, right? After the bought in here, right? Sold up around here or there, can't remember exactly. It was 82. Yeah, it was here. Sold here. And it then just continued, it just proceeded to bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed. And now it's already down 82% from the highs, right? So multi-bit to me has a greater risk of doing that than it does of going up because it's just had its big phase and it needs to at least consolidate now. Its chances to be bullish have kind of passed. So it's a 67% down already. But if it does the 82, right, like Pepe Coin did, and Pepe Coin doesn't even look like it's done yet, that's going to take it down, way down there, a further 60% from here, 70% from here. And that's not in my plan. That's not what I want to do. So I've got rid of it. Now, what does look really good is Unibot. And what you're going to see is several coins that are have better structure. Now, it doesn't mean that Unibot is mega bullish or that if the market turns bearish, that Unibot's not going to struggle, but it's already done this. Think about it. Just look at this chart. This is like where multi-bit is now, right? It's had its big run up. It's had its first sell-off. It's trying to recover. That's somewhere like where multi-bit is now. Maybe it's there. Maybe it's there. But if multi-bit does the typical altcoin reaccumulation, it's going to go back down to its lows, just like this, and it's going to reaccumulate. This is all 6 months. And so I can't hold multi-bit whenever it's just not, it's bounced and then rejected, bounced and rejected, bounced and rejected. So I can't hold it in that scenario, in that situation. Unibot, on the other hand, has a different cycle to the rest of the market because its big run was in July and August when everything else was bearish. And then when everything else was bullish, right, when we got to October, all the way October, November, December, Unibot went nowhere. This one, Solana was like this. Avalanche is just up only. Celestia, Say, right? Everything's up. Unibot wasn't. But what it was doing was forming a really nice 5-month consolidation. And it's broken out of it. And so this is one of the best charts in the market at the moment. again, if the whole market crashes another 20 or 30%, it doesn't mean like Unibot's probably going to end up getting dragged down. Yeah, it's going to have to go back into this and go again later, whatever. But if the market holds up at all and any altcoin's going to run, I think it's going to be ones like this that have better charts, that have far less downside potential because it's already had, right, a full 87% and 5-month reaccumulation, and we're on the way back up. So hopefully that, highlights why I've done what I've done with Multibit and why I'm sticking with Unibot. And my bags now basically are just ETH, Bitcoin ETH, right, Akash, and Unibot. I still hold a bit of Pepe coin, but it's not something that I'm bullish on in the short term. I'm just holding it because I sold 2/3 of it, so I don't need to sell the rest. It's like I'm leaving it there as a cycle bag. So Bitcoin ETH, Multibit, Unibot, not Multibit, sorry, Bitcoin ETH, Akash, Unibot. That's where I'm at. That's why I'm doing it. You all know with Akash, it's long-term play. I wanted to go lower. I want to accumulate more. I'll talk a lot more about that on Weekly Outlook and beyond. That's it. GM, GM, GM.